because I believe that there are so many people out there who need what we bring to them. So if I try to keep all of the knowledge and all my materials and all my resources to myself and not share it with other people, then I'm just in turn hurting myself and my family.
Welcome to Beyond the Business Plan. I'm LeAnn Lyon, your guide on this journey to success. We will explore the inspiring stories of visionary leaders and groundbreaking entrepreneurs and unveil the tools and strategies that can empower you to manage your business from anywhere in the world. Join me, LeAnn, as we learn, laugh, and take the leap towards unleashing your joyful business journey. And let's make it happen now. My guest today is an international speaker and leadership expert who helps individuals and organizations unlock their full potential through intentional leadership, emotional intelligence, and personal growth. As the founder of Alpstra Co, she equips leaders across industries to elevate performance, build stronger teams, and navigate, very importantly, change with confidence. With a background in both education and corporate leadership, Amy blends neuroscience, resilience, and real-life experience to deliver high-impact training that transforms people and cultures from the inside out. She hails from Texas, is married with 2 adult children and 1, so far, grandbaby girl, the shining light and why for Amy's life today. And look out for chickens. If you're watching the show in video format, you may see one pass by. Amy Pakacek, are you there? Come on forward. I'd love to see you. There she is.
Hey, LeAnn, how are you?
I'm wonderful and so blessed to be here with you today, Amy. Welcome to Beyond the Business Plan.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you invited me to come. I appreciate it.
How long have you had a business plan?
Oh, how long have I had a business plan?
Yeah.
Well, that's a great question. So I've thought about going into business for myself for years, but it wasn't until 2020, 2021 that I actually took the leap. And as far as developing that plan, I think it's been an an evolving thing since day one. So I knew exactly what I wanted to do, but as soon as you start, then things happen and you just have to adapt and adjust. So it's a moving target right now.
Oh, I hear you. I mean, you are one of the first episodes on my newly released podcast at this time.
That's right.
Releasing this. And my business plan has had to change over and over again in the last few weeks as this has been evolving. In fact, my AI and I had a very long conversation about not only our show, but upcoming shows just this morning. How do you keep evolving your business plan?
So I have to focus on what is the most important thing for not only me, but also my client base. And as needs change, as things change, and you just said one of them, AI is coming out. So people are needing new training topics. They're needing to understand how that's going to impact how they do business and how they're successful. So things like that that happen out in the community, that happen in the world, we have to adjust to the needs. And so originally I thought I was going to be just solely a motivational and inspirational speaker, but so many people asked me to come and do corporate training. So corporate training truly is the bread and butter of my company at this point. That's what we do for the most part. However, I have gone back to the heart of loving doing keynote speaking. I love to write. And so even though the corporate training aspect is our bread and butter, I get a lot of joy from being on stage and speaking at events. So we're incorporating some more of that into our company. We also are doing some other things where we're doing like a speaker connect. So for years, it was just me. I was the founder, the sole trainer. I had people who were support helping the
Uh-huh.
company, but I didn't really have any other trainers or speakers. Well, now we do, and we're actually offering services to help speakers get connected with events and help events get connected with more affordable speakers for their events. So those are some of the recent, like truly recent changes that we've experienced in the past year. And another one of them is we recently changed the name of the company. It was Alpstra Training Solutions. And as you said in the intro, it's now Alpstra and Co. or Alpstra and Company. So that's been a recent change as well. And that was done to reflect these other business plan or business strategy dynamics.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. And you've alluded to this so beautifully that where we think we're going to go when we start out is so often not exactly where we end up going. And that's a good thing in many cases. I think
Right.
a lot of people who are thinking about starting a business have this vision of, something that's probably a little too broad. That's where I was as well. Hey, I want to help all business owners. Really? All? Maybe not, because there's a huge variety and approaches that need to happen when you're talking to a solopreneur versus the CEO of a multi-million dollar company. And I knew that my niche was to work more with those solopreneurs, those people who are getting started. And so as you niche down and then you find out really what they need, it changes your business plan. And that's such an important part of business, being flexible. So that flexibility, obviously, you've demonstrated with your timeline as well.
Right, exactly. In fact, very recently.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you balance the pursuit of your personal goals? We talked just before we started that one benefit of, being in charge and having your own business is being able to take a personal care day on a Tuesday. But the problem is, I think when a lot of people start out, they're like, I'm my own boss. I'm going to take a vacation day today and Thursday and Sunday and they suddenly they're all vacation and no work. Do you remember going through a phase like that?
No, I don't. No, no, in fact, I'm almost the opposite where I have to force myself to take time off. And I believe that, there's a balance in there somewhere that's right for people. But I've talked to a lot of people who also want to start their own companies or who have started their own companies. And when they have that mindset of, oh, I don't have to work and own a company, especially in the beginning, I believe that that's going to prevent them from being as successful as they could. So for me, it's like I work because I love what I do and I'm passionate about what I do and I love my business. But I have to put boundaries around myself or else literally, Leanne, I would work from the time I woke up until the time I went to bed just because it's what I love to do. But I have to put boundaries around that, make sure I'm taking care of myself, making sure I'm taking care of my personal relationships and taking care of my home. And it's a lot easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah, I'll share a couple of things that I do around that, and I'd love to hear some of your strategies as well.
Sure.
I wear a Fitbit, and every hour, 10 minutes to the hour, it reminds me if I have not gotten up from my chair.
Hmm.
And then just to reinforce it, because sometimes I can miss that subtlety. I don't miss it when my iPhone phone blares at me 4 minutes to the end of the hour. It's like a last check. Here's your chance. Get in your 250 steps or else. And I keep a rebounder within reach, within a few steps of my chair.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
may sound like cheating, but getting up and doing 250 bounces on a rebounder makes a phenomenal difference in how my body handles the everyday stresses. That's just one little hack that I've used. How about you? What's a hack you've used?
Yeah. So one of the things is I follow my calendar pretty closely.
Yeah.
So I time block different activities that I'm going to do, and I have all my notifications turned off except for those calendar alerts. And so you use your Fitbit or your iPhone to help you remember to get up. Well, I use mine to help me remember, okay, it's time to, go get a new glass of water or take a walk. And like you said in the beginning as well, I have chickens. And so I will go out there and talk to them or feed them. They make me very happy. being from the city, I moved out to the country when I married my husband, but I'm from the city and I never would have thought that I would have had chickens and loved them. But really, when you're talking about taking care of yourself, I mean, that is one of the biggest joys I have today is going out there and watching those little girls. And it's crazy. But that is one of the ways that I take care of myself. And maybe it's just, my kids have told me before that it's because I'm an empty nester and they're like my babies. And maybe that's true. But, we have to do things that fill us up, and taking care of them is absolutely something that does that for me.
And my second favorite thing, if I have time to do more than just rebound, and it's a beautiful day, I may take a walk outside as well. I have a river, I would call it more of a creek, but technically it's a river behind in the back of my yard. And I've timed it. I can get my 250 steps in just walking out to the river and back. And a side benefit for us when we're going out to our chickens or to our river is that we get the vitamin D. And
Yes.
people underestimate the importance of even our health and nutrition, making sure we get some vitamin D on our faces. And it's so good for our eyes to get out in the sunlight as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I've read some studies of the research of that vitamin D and the sunshine in our eyes.
Mhm.
And I even have stopped wearing sunglasses as often as I used to. I used to use them outside all the time. And now there are a lot of times when I don't wear them at all. Or if I do wear them, it's just for short periods at a time.
Now, for anybody just listening to the podcast, of course, you can't see us, but you're welcome to come over to YouTube or your favorite platform that we have this show on and check it out. Amy, you have blue eyes, am I right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I have brown eyes. But I have two daughters with blue eyes. I'm married to a man with blue eyes, and the sunlight and on blue eyes is different than the sunlight on brown eyes. It's more intense from what I can tell. And that's
Yeah.
why a lot of blue-eyed people, I think, wear sunglasses more often. I'm brown-eyed, I'm more hazel, so they're green sometimes too. It's very interesting.
They're very pretty.
Well, thank you. But yeah, being an entrepreneur, taking care of business is one thing, and it's so important.
Mhm.
Like you, I have a passion for what I do. I often I am found at my desk at 5 o'clock in the morning because some idea has come to me in the middle of the night that I just want to get moving on. And I
Yeah.
think that's what really does set the 9% of entrepreneurs that are truly self-employed apart from the 41% of people who dream of becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Of the 41%, 9% are self-employed, meaning 32% aren't quite yet. And so if somebody is in that 32%, we're not saying that they have no drive or ambition, but one step that could push them into the 9% is find that why
Mhm.
that makes you get up and say, I need to do this. And if you find that, listen to another podcast recently, Justin Balababa was interviewed, and he said, once he found what he wanted to do, he's never worked. In 20 years, he's never had a day that he looked at the clock saying, it's only two,
Yes,
you
I
know?
completely agree with that. I've heard people say that before, and being an entrepreneur and business owner myself, I completely get that. That's how I feel. It doesn't feel like work, and I tell people a lot of times I would do it for free. I love what I do so much that I would do it for free, and that is part of the way that I do give back to the community is by offering some no cost events about once a quarter. But I would do it every day for free because it just does not feel like work. It's fun. It's exciting. I love learning. I love sharing what I learn with other people. I love being able to witness other people grow and transform and become better leaders and go after their goals and dreams. And I know that you feel the same way about your business as you're able to help people who want to become entrepreneurs and business owners as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm going to try and talk a little more deeply on that topic because one mistake I think I hear a lot of new business owners make is because they do love what they're doing, they do actually do it for free.
Yes.
Did you fall into that trap when you were starting or?
Well, yes, I believe that I did it strategically though, most of the times.
Mhm.
So there were some times when I did it at no cost or for free. But I believe we were strategic about it and making sure I was doing it for the right audiences, making sure that they aligned with the message that I want to convey and where my passions are, or that gave me exposure that I needed. Now, of course, that's not always the case. Nothing of us ever always or never. But but for the most part, I would say that we were very strategic. And I say we, I'm talking about my husband and I because he's he and I consult a lot about the company Alpstra. But yes, it's very easy to get into the trap of doing things for free. And still today, I mean, I have people ask all the time, but we have to learn to say no to anything that's not going to help us move our organization forward. And we have to know our worth. You know, you think about it, people oftentimes don't like to pay for services or products that they receive. But a service like what you provide, and a service like what I provide, this is you're talking about 20 years of research and learning and intentional learning. It wasn't just, oh, I did it and here I am teaching people what I did. No, it was 20 years of when other people were out partying, vacationing, having fun, watching TV, watching movies. I'm a reader. And so I would read and I would ask people questions and I was curious and it was every single day learning to get to the point to where I am today. So people aren't just paying for the time that you're providing them right now today. They're also paying for all of those years of knowledge and research and experience that you have before today.
Yeah. And that knowing your value, knowing your worth it's a challenge for somebody. I'm just going to raise my hand right here and say it was a challenge for me. I have been technically inclined my whole life. I actually sold a computer program, if you can believe it, when I was 11 years old.
Wow.
Right. So I've always had this techie bent. I've always been into computers. I started with programming as my major in college and decided not to go that direction, but I can do technology. It's not hard. And I'm a solid Gen Xer. I like a solid top, early Gen Xer, even if you will. And very unusual for my generation to be as techie as I am. But for me, it was just natural. It's just who I am. It's how I am. And so when other people don't understand it, and then I have my love of teaching because I
Right.
came from a teaching background, I'm like, oh, well, let me help you. Let me show you. And
Mhm.
again, teaching kind of gives you that natural generosity, I think, too. You
Sure.
go into a classroom, you go into teaching, and I was a licensed teacher for 5 years knowing you're not going to get paid well and you're going to pour out 80 hours a week. So breaking that habit, and again, I'm speaking also to anybody in that situation. If you're a teacher, but you're burned out, but you think, wow, I don't want to work 80 hours a week any longer, you don't have to. Truly step aside and start being paid for what you're worth.
Right.
Get and find your passion. Find what really, really juices you and makes you want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do some work.
Exactly. Yeah. So I started my career as a teacher as well
Huh.
and loved it, loved the students, absolutely loved what I did. But I also believed there was something more and that teaching was preparing me for where I am today. But I couldn't agree with you more. You know, you talked about when you were 11, how you started doing techie things, working with technology and computers. I tell the story of when I was young, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I was already teaching. So either I would have my friends over in my room, or if my friends weren't there, I would get my stuffed animals and put them in a semicircle, and I stood in front of them and taught. So I do believe that it makes sense that we're both doing the things that we're doing now. And that's important for people to know that if you look back in your life, you'll see patterns and you can go back and identify experiences that will point exactly in the direction to your purpose and what you're meant to do with life. And I think you and I just both shared examples of that, right?
You know it. You actually took one of my questions right out of my mouth. That is a
Wow.
question that I've asked over and over and over again. Because I've had a podcast for a couple of years. This is a rebrand and a restart of what we're doing here, and I love it. But some of those will, I'll probably retrofit into this. I'm just excited to, but that has been my big passion. And many people don't realize that. If you look back, and I've kind of expanded the ages between, I originally said it was like 9 or 10. I think it's even earlier, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, when you're you're still pretty insulated in your family. You
Right.
still got a lot of care. You don't have a need to impress your friends. You're not out into the junior high, middle school things, high school. You're not trying to earn money, or the approval you're looking for is probably from family. And I know that that's a whole messy thing for some people. But when you have that freedom at that age, what did you do? You've already answered the question. And it's the same thing I did. I used to make worksheets, math worksheets. Do you remember,
Yeah.
did you ever have to do like the speed test to help you
Yes.
get, yeah. So I would handwrite out a speed test type worksheet and give it to my younger sister, who, by the way, ended up being a straight A student all the way through college. Hmm. Can I take responsibility for that? She had a
Yes. Absolutely, you can.
3-year-old, the third 3 years older sister who loved to teach her everything that I was learning.
Yep.
So
And
yeah,
so that's
like
what I did too. My parents got me a set of children's encyclopedias, and I would just sit in my room and read
oh
those encyclopedias. And so, like you're saying, I didn't make worksheets, but I used the back of my bedroom door as my chalkboard, and I would write on the chalkboard things that I was teaching them, but I had just learned.
yeah, for real. So I do. Anybody listening to this thinking, what did I do? Really dig into it. Dig into what you loved to do, whether it was reading. Both of us were readers as well. So we are just two peas in a pod, just, several thousand miles apart.
Right.
And, loved to read, loved to teach, loved to learn, and then moved in. By the way, what type of teaching did you do? You said,
Most of my career, I taught eighth grade math. So I
oh,
taught the middle schoolers. And
Amy,
I, what's that?
seventh grade math.
Yeah, there you go. So I loved that age because they were still young enough to, like you said earlier about our parents, they still wanted our approval, right? But they were independent enough that I didn't have to hold their hand, every single moment of the day, if that makes sense. So they were right on that line where they were gaining their independence, but they still wanted their hugs in the morning, and when they walked by, they'd still give me high fives. So it's a lot of fun. Seventh grade, though, that was the hardest grade ever. And I've told people for years, parents, that once you get past seventh grade, for the most part, it's going to get better.
So interesting because everything you just said, I would reverse back. I mean, I felt the same way. Seventh grade was my sweet spot because they were no longer trying to give me pictures of rainbows and stars and unicorns, which
Yes,
I just, in a middle school, it was sixth, seventh, eighth grade.
right,
And I just didn't want that. Like, it's different when it's your own children, right? Bringing home
right.
things, then it's precious. But when 30 kids in your classroom are handing you pictures that they drew, just not my thing. And eighth graders I found to be so obnoxious and somewhat disrespectful.
Yeah.
And you said hugs in eighth grade. I mean, I didn't even get hugs in seventh grade, but
Wow.
yeah, but maybe that's more on me that I wasn't. And again, our society, we can get into all that, but we won't. But seventh grade was not my was totally my sweet spot. Not sixth, not eighth, seventh was it. And
Yeah.
besides, I was still taller than most of the boys in seventh grade, not so much in eighth.
Yeah. Well, that's important too. That's definitely important. Yep.
And I did actually have one set of parents that told me, because I had their kid in sixth and seventh grade. For a brief point, I did teach a couple of sixth grade classes, or I was actually a para-professional in sixth grade one year and then had the student in my class seventh. And the parents were like, "You're a brilliant math teacher. Our daughter was failing math last year." And I said, "No, it's not me. Her brain is developed. There's just a
Right.
leap that happens around puberty. She hit it." So I appreciate the compliment, but it's a biology thing.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Yeah, so going back to business, I'm just so overwhelmed. Like, wow, this is such a perfect example. Again, anybody listening, think back. What were you doing when you were younger, and how did that move you forward into, if you're doing that now, you're doing something you love.
Exactly.
Yeah. How about a significant challenge, some sort of a challenge that you faced while building your business, and how did you overcome that challenge?
Well, there's actually been several challenges. Probably the most significant one that I have faced is finding the right support, the right help.
Mhm.
We have hired several different people, and it's taken a while to find somebody, the right fit, the right people who can work for an organization like this that's a small company. A lot of times you find people who they want to work for a big company with all the, foundation and the security and all that, and you just can't offer that with a small business. Hopefully, we are offering that. But the other thing is finding people who will work for a small business without trying to do their own thing at the same time, meaning it's okay to do your own thing, and that's perfectly okay. But when that own thing interferes with the work they're doing for you and that you're paying for them to do, there's a problem. And then, we've had experiences where people have thought, oh yeah, I can jump in and help in this area or that area, and a lot more promises were made than were delivered. And that might not just be an employee, that could be a company that we hired to help with. And so probably the biggest challenge for me has been finding that support, whether it's through employees or through other companies to help my company. It's, is figuring out how are we going to get the right people and the right organizations and the right support in place to fit this small niche company. A lot of times, even if you hire consultants or you hire other firms to help, they might be able to help people in a broad industry. But when you come down to a company the size of Alpstra, it is very small and niched and different from a lot of the other companies that they work with. And I have found, as I've worked with several, like I've worked with several different companies, that I can tell by meeting with them and having conversations with them and the follow-up that we've had with them, that it has perplexed them, even them, and they're experts and they've helped these other huge organizations and these big names that you and I both heard of and that your audience has heard of. They've helped all these other peoples, but they even struggled helping my company. So that's been my biggest challenge.
And how have you overcome it?
Well, you just keep going. I mean, so I have found some that are helping significantly now for the first time, and it took years, but I do have some people on staff, and I do have some companies that I work with that are helping us in ways that I haven't before. But had I given up before, we wouldn't be here now. So I've learned, and it's again that adjusting and that adapting that we talked about in the very beginning of our conversation. It's okay, so this didn't work, and I like to have the mindset of everything that didn't work is bringing me closer to something that will work, or every mistake I made has a lesson to teach me so that I can learn and be better in the future. And I believe that's exactly what's happened. We're getting closer and closer to finding the perfect fits right now.
Yeah, I find, there's these. pithy saying, some people would say, but it's so true. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn,
Right,
right? There's
right,
no losing every single step. How about this one? Life is happening for me, not to me.
exactly.
That's another one. Teamwork makes the dream work. First time I heard that one, I was like, oh, that's so jokey, whatever. But really, it's so true.
Mhm.
You really cannot move a dream forward and scale it without a team. It's perfectly fine to start it on your own, but to scale, you need a team. Um,
Absolutely.
Probably, I'm just going to share my biggest hiring mistake was my first hire. I
Yes.
got to a point where I had nailed everything down. I knew exactly what to do and when to do it, but I had more to do than I could possibly get done. And so it was time to hire in an assistant, somebody who could, when the door opened, because this was at a manufacturing company my husband and I owned for a while. When the door opened, she could jump out of her seat and go see who it was, or the regular scheduling of social media, different things. So I hired somebody that I really liked. And she was so nice, and we could talk all day long. And now even less got done. My biggest mistake was I hired myself. Of course, we could talk all day long.
Right.
She had the same quick start that I am. She did not have the follow through, which is my biggest struggle. And so, I learned from that is I had to now hire somebody who had the opposite, somebody who had great follow through, who didn't have a quick start bone in their body.
Yeah.
And that's what you're saying. Quick start is usually that part of many entrepreneurs. We see
Yes.
something, we go for it. Not all entrepreneurs. You can be an entrepreneur without being a quick start. But whatever you are, know who you are, hire the opposite.
That's really good advice. So I would say that we are more the driven type personalities, the visionaries, the big thinkers, the doers, and to have somebody who's more analytical and who can make sure all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, who are going to ask questions.
Mhm.
So it's very important for me to have somebody in my corner who's going to ask me questions and make me think at a deeper level to make sure I'm not making a mistake. And I couldn't agree with you more. Having people who were just like us, that just excites. I love having people who are similar in personality and drive as I am around me because it's fun and it's exciting and we can think of all the possibilities. But you're absolutely right. It's going to help us. We're going to get even less done. But having the people who are more analytical, who can ground us, they're going to help us make the better decisions.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? Find a mastermind of people that
Mhm.
are like you, whether in your same industry or other industries. And I'll put a caveat on that. Some people say, well, I wouldn't want to find a mastermind in the same industry. They might steal my ideas. But, here with Beyond the Business Plan and with my company, Joyminder, we have an abundance mindset. We just know there's 8 billion people in the world. We can't serve them all anyway. And even if we are in the same market, how I do things and how they do things is just different. We're going to serve people differently. We're going to serve different people. And it's okay to mastermind with similar industries. But that's where you can get that juiced up thing. I'm part of a mastermind or two. Are you?
I have a group of women entrepreneurs that you would call it's like a mastermind, but we just call it our women's entrepreneurial group, and we meet and have conversations and do exactly what you're talking about. We share ideas, we share things we're learning, we help each other and support each other. So it's amazing. Yes. Um, couldn't imagine not having that fellowship with them. But I do want to speak to something that you mentioned just a moment ago about the abundance mindset
Yes.
and having support with people even in your same industry. I couldn't agree with you more. And I have had several conversations where I've had to defend that very thing with people who have said, "Hey, Amy, why are you giving business to this person? Or why are you sharing your content with this person? Or how are you bringing that person into Alpstra to do exactly what you're doing?" And it's because I believe that there are so many people out there who need what we bring to them, and there's so few of us
Yeah.
doing it that if I were to try to keep it all to myself, I would not only be harming myself, harming other people, but I would be harming myself and my family because there's only one of me who can do it all. And the more people we can help and the more people we can, um, make more successful, teach emotional intelligence, help them go for their goals and dreams and live better lives, they're going to be happier people. It's going to shape society, which then in turns impacts my children, my granddaughter, and myself. So if I try to keep all of the knowledge and all my materials and all my resources to myself and not share it with other people, then I'm just in turn hurting myself and my family.
I heard a great analogy from Fabienne Fredrickson many, many years ago, and she said that what you just described is like baking the most amazing brownies. And you have guests over and they're sitting in your living room and you go into the kitchen and you make this amazing and you bake it and the smell is coming out and everybody gets to smell it. And then you go into the kitchen and you eat it all by yourself. And a
Exactly.
couple things are going to happen. First, you're going to get sick.
Yeah.
And second of all, I mean, where's the abundance there? How are you helping others if you keep everything to yourself? This is
Completely agree,
truly where we
LeAnn.
can expand and be amazing with other people when we achieve an abundance mindset. Now, I noticed something else. This is a podcast where people can't see us, but it's visual too. And we both have a cross on our neck, which is not a requirement. This is not a faith-based type podcast. However, sometimes how we do anything is how we do everything. Another phrase that I've actually typically loathed in my life, by the way. But when we talked about, yeah, I just really just no.
Okay.
Maybe another discussion for another day. And I'd
Yeah.
love to have you back already because we're already running out of time today. So we have a couple more quick things. I certainly want to know, make sure people know how they can reach you. And of course, we'll put your contact information below. But when you talked at the beginning, kind of to bring this full circle about doing things for free, I do look at that for myself as a form of tithing.
Yes,
It's
agreed.
you can be strategic in how you tithe as well. Like you don't just randomly tithe. Some people would say, well, if I give money to a homeless person, that's tithing. It could be if that suits your mission. But I do set aside time per week to do a podcast, to have open office hours, to do Q&As, to pour into people. Um, have you ever thought about it that way, or is that is consciously or subconsciously?
Absolutely. When I talk about the events that I do at no cost
Yeah.
once a quarter, so that might not sound like a lot to people, but when you're talking about an all-day event or a 3-day event, or there's a lot of time, there's a lot of money, and there's a lot of energy that goes into those events that I do and don't charge people to attend or don't charge, say, a nonprofit or a not-for-profit organization. So that is a big part of me giving back, and I do see it as part of my tithe. I also give back in ways of having conversations with people. I don't promote myself as a coach because that's not where I get energy from. But I do some leadership coaching for some organizations, specific people within the organizations. And then one of the ways I give back is for people who are wanting someone to talk to coach them, to help them with things that they're going through or struggling with, or they need ideas. And I don't charge them for that. And I've had people say, "Look, Amy, I'll pay you, just coach me." And no, no, that's not what I'm doing, right? So that's part of the way I give back as well.
Yeah, it's so I think it's important. I think again, if we just keep it, if we're only doing what we can make money from, it's again a little bit like eating all the brownies, and it's just not
Exactly.
necessary. Well, I'm excited that you are also, whether it now we can say it's in the future, but eventually and shortly it'll be in the past. One of my give backs is I run a summit 3 times a year called the Start Restart Your Business Summit. Very excited that you will be on my upcoming summit and share some of your brilliance with our audience. And that's a 4-day summit. It's not for all day. It's just 2 hours a day over lunch. And we do this in May, September, and January. Links to that, you can find them all over at leannlyon.com, at joyminder.com. You can look for Start, Restart Your Business Summit, and you'll find it. Amy, do you want to give us a little touch on what you'll be covering?
Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about the importance of decision making neuroscience as startups, as entrepreneurs, and how understanding how people think and how they make decisions will help you make better decisions as you start your company.
I can't wait to hear it. I'll be taking a lot of notes
Awesome.
when you're speaking at the upcoming summit. So I'm super excited for that. Amy, I have one more question for you, but before we get that, what is the best way for people to find you? Again, I'm going to put a lot of links below here, don't worry. But if somebody's listening on the podcast and they're like, I just need to meet Amy Pakacek, maybe you want to spell your last name for those audible people.
Yeah, so I married that last name. It's Czechoslovakian. It's P as in Paul, Echacek. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter. My website's www.amypakacek.com. And then the company website is Alpstra, Alpstra. So it's www.alpstra.com.
Excellent. What's your preferred social media, by the way?
Probably LinkedIn. I have a quite a following on Twitter, but I believe the conversations on LinkedIn are richer.
Okay, wonderful. Well, as we wrap up here, one final quick question, because, for those people, that 32% that are not yet, and even some of those 9%ers who are just struggling, but if you could give one piece of advice to somebody that's just really starting their entrepreneurial journey, what would that be?
To just go for it. Stop waiting. The perfect time is not going to come along. It'll never happen. You can figure it out as you go. I think you and I have talked about that during our conversation today, but just start. If you truly want to do it and there's something you're passionate about, you'll figure it out. And the right people, the right resources, the right lessons will come to you.
Thank you, Amy. This has been so much fun. I look forward to seeing you on the summit upcoming, and I'd love to have you back. This has been a really fun conversation.
Thank you, LeAnn. Appreciate it.
And to our listeners, I want to thank you as well for joining us on this show, Beyond the Business Plan, to unleash your joyful business potential. Remember, leadership is a voyage that you can take with others. So find your tribe for the journey. And give us a like or subscribe or whatever you do on your favorite podcast or video platform to keep shining and aligning with your purpose and keeping in step with this podcast and with Joyminder Solutions. And then come back every week to our new inspiring episodes. And until that time, I'm LeAnn Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer of Joyminder LLC, signing off. Let's keep spreading the joy. Keep leading with heart, and I will catch you on the next wave of success. Thank you all for joining us today on Beyond the Business Plan. It's been a joy and a privilege to share this space with you. For more inspiring stories, tools, and actionable insights, make sure to follow us on your favorite video platform. Visit my website, leannlyon.com, and keep leading with heart. And I'll catch you on the next wave of success. Hey, coffee aficionados and sales setting entrepreneurs, are you craving that caffeine kick, but looking for a healthier alternative? Dive into the lifestyle tab at joyminder.com, where we've curated the ultimate collection of energizing options to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit without the jitters. Discover your next favorite pick-me-up today and keep your business dreams brewing strong. Hear what it did for me by visiting joyminder.com. That's joyminder.com/lifestyle, because your peak performance deserves more than just another cup of joe. Thank you all for joining us today on Beyond the Business Plan. It's been a joy and a privilege to share this space with you. For more inspiring stories, tools, and actionable insights, make sure to follow us on your favorite video platform. Visit my website, LeAnnLyon.com, and keep leading with heart. And I'll catch you on the next wave of success.